Welcome to my podcast on real relationships. My name is Sophie Passon, and I am a relationship expert, international speaker, and best-selling author of the book Your Other Half. I decided to start this podcast because, in my opinion, relationships are currently not being portrayed as what they really are. Whether you're watching the news, TV, social media, the perception given to people is wrong. And my aim is to talk about what happens in the real world, talk about real stories, and listen to what real people think, do, or go through, as opposed to creating expectations of something that doesn't actually exist. I may not agree with everything that is said by my guest, but it is their chance to express their opinions and the stories. So here today, we have someone a bit different. We have Paul Newton, and we are going to talk about the art of deception and how sometimes we can just see what we want to see. Hi, Paul.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay, you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm tired, but really good and far too excited at the moment.
Oh, God. Right, so tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, right, I'm Paul Newton. I'm a magician, a mind reader, a hypnotist, and as of today, I'm a published author. Oh my word. It's nuts, mate. It's nuts. And you know what? You're part of that journey because actually you said to me, you can do this, you can self-publish and you can do this. And so, yeah, my lovely network around me gave me a kick up the backside to tell the people what I do.
And now you're doing it.
Yeah, I know. That's just weird.
So, can you tell us how you become a magician? Because I know the answer because we've had this conversation 1,000 times, but most people don't know.
Yeah, true. But normally we have this conversation over a nice cup of coffee.
That's right. And now we can't.
Yeah, we're not allowed anymore. So we're doing this across Zoom. Right. I started out in magic because my parents bought me a magic set when I was a kid, and it was like a Paul Daniels magic set, and I loved it. I loved the fact that even as a child, I could make grown adults believe the impossible just happened. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I'll be careful here. This is trickery that I'm talking about. Yeah. This is the art of deception in possibly the most beautiful way, because I'm going to tell you that I'm going to deceive you, and then when it works, you're still going to go, but that's not possible.
Yeah.
And for me, that's massive. When a little kid can have grown adults staring and just jaws dropping and going, what the hell just happened? That's amazing.
So is that something you had an interest from really young then?
Yeah, so it started out when I was about 5 with the gimmicky type tricks, but started getting paid for it when I was about 17, 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And you're talking the pubs that just said, if I give you 20 quid, will you do an hour? And we'll give you free drinks for that hour.
Yeah.
Obviously the free drinks.
17-year-olds, that's an offer and a half.
Yeah, I could drink when I was a teenager. Oh my word, they spent a lot of money on alcohol. But yeah, that was how it started. And now I haven't had a proper job for nearly 12 years. Mm-hmm. I've spent the last 12 years being magician, mind reader, dad, and husband, because my priorities are as a dad and a husband. Mm-hmm. So I've had a lovely business where I work part-time hours, but it covers all the bills.
Yeah.
Different world really, and far too much fun. Making money from doing card tricks. It's awesome.
But you've got to be able to do it, because to be fair, I had a similar interest when I was younger, but I know for a fact that I'm too clumsy to get it right.
I bet. Right, when we're allowed to meet up in those coffee shops, yeah, I'm going to teach you a trick, okay? And you'll have one trick that you can go, I've got this, I've nailed this, and I'm going to make sure that happens. You will love.
Okay, thank you. So, obviously, you've kind of answered that question already. There's no such thing as magic in that way. So what involves that trickery? Why is it that we focus on, that thing that is not supposed to happen and we don't see what actually happens? How do you do that?
Okay, right. So I have techniques and ways where I can make you look at a certain, like right now, we're sat chatting on a video call, and if I just point there, you will automatically look at that eye on that picture behind me. I could be doing anything with my left hand that I want, but because I've done the stereotypical,
naturally go to that.
Yeah. this is our known signal for you need to look here. And without me saying it, you're going to look here because you're already conditioned to do so. Now, it's at that time that I will steal something from your table, or I'll pinch your purse, or I'll nick your wallet, or I'll move your... I've nicked wine bottles off of tables with crowded people around them just because I've pointed at someone, and as they will look at that someone, I can do whatever I want on the table and they won't see it.
Yeah, and that's what's really interesting. It's how, in life in general, we can sometimes just see what we want to see.
Yes. Now, if I, Sophie, you know me well enough to know that I've not got much hair on my head. I wear a trilby a lot whenever I'm out in public. Sorry, doing work activities.
Yeah.
When I'm not doing work stuff, it's normally just the bald head or a baseball cap. Okay. Now, where I've purposely always worn the trilby when I'm doing keynotes or when I'm doing video stuff, if I'm wearing the trilby and a black shirt and maybe the grey jacket,
it's what people know.
Yeah, everyone knows that's Paul Newton mental theft, and they're happy with that. Now, the funny thing is, and I've done this and I've proved this, if I walk backstage, get rid of the hat and the shirt and put on a normal t-shirt and a high-vis vest, people think I'm security.
Yeah.
They completely forget Paul Newton, and I can then walk in almost anywhere, pretend I'm a security guard, and walk past most security features. Because big bloke, shaved head, wearing the right uniform, he's got to be security. Now, it goes further than that. If I then put on a policeman's uniform, when you're dealing with the police, how many people actually ask to see ID that they can verify? You don't.
To be fair, you often, if you've got a police officer, you also have a car a lot of the time, don't you? It's not so often you see them just walking about.
No, true. And how hard is it to get a car that looks right?
I suppose so.
Also, working in the film industry, as I do sometimes, I know you can hire them. So, I mean, this is massively different. You know, you've got one end of the scale where I'm nicking a wine bottle off of someone's table, okay? All the way to the other end of the scale where I'm doing a scam, pretending to be a police officer or a security guard.
Yeah.
But they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
I just want you to look at something and concentrate on that, while really I'm nicking your identification. I'm stealing from your bank accounts because you've just given me the passwords. Because if you believe I have authority over you, that's what normal human beings do.
Yeah.
So when I start looking at the art of deception or how to deceive, I'm trying to do it to figure out what would a scammer with no morals do. Now, I know I do look at the world in a different way. I really do. And you've been out with me when I've been doing things that other people are going, that's just impossible. And my answer is always, yeah, but I just did it. And the amount of security guards, corporates, individuals who will stand there and say, Paul will not be able to get away with this. And then they watch me do it and they still say, yeah, but it won't work. I've just done it.
Do you think that sometimes there's also an element that if you know someone, you know, I'm not talking so much about the scams and the trickery, but a magic show in general. If you know that someone's going to do a trick, you go back to being 4 years old and you kind of go, oh, I can't wait, you know?
Yeah. So yes, I do. There are certain illusions. I love illusions. Okay. So different types. I do mostly mind reading trickery. I do things within the brain and I mess people's heads around. Okay. However, illusions. So like Copperfield type illusions, like big stuff that you would see Penn and Teller doing, you know, the Vegas type shows. Oh my word. I love watching them. Now, I'm in a weird circle of people that if I wanted to, I could find out exactly how those things are done. But I love some of them so much that I'm not finding out. Yeah, because when that tiger appears, in that box that everyone blatantly saw was empty, and all of a sudden, you know, you whipped off the cloth that was only there for a quarter of a second, and there's 2 full-size tigers there. I'm just like, that's it. I'm a kid. I don't ever want to know. And that is the moment when I'm going, that proves Santa is real. That's it. I'm done. Magic's real.
All you need to know.
Yeah. And to the point that some people have invited me on stage to see the props and to get up close with the props, and I'm like, nope, don't want to see it. But yeah, and then you got people like Darren Brown, who I've met before, and do you know what? He's so down to earth and so lovely about what he can do that even though I should hate him because he's doing so well, he's lovely. I love that. And you know,
I think that's a question that you know, most people, well, not most people, but a lot of people would be asking themselves: do you actually have to be susceptible to be picked for some of these things?
Depends on the show and depends on the showman.
Right. Okay.
So I've got a buddy of mine, James Brown, brilliant hypnotist, absolutely amazing what he does. And I watch what he does, I understand what he does, but he still does it in such a way that even I go, that's amazing.
Right.
Now, if you go to James's show, he loves picking on the people that should not go into hypnosis.
Yeah.
Literally, every time he does a show anywhere, he wants to challenge himself so much that he'll go for the one that every other hypnotherapist or hypnotist will say they'll never go under. And he gets them. Okay. And seriously, I sit there and watch it and my jaw drops. But then if you're watching somebody who's not as well practiced as James, should we say, they will go for the 10% that are known as somnambulists that will just go under like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're in a stage environment and there's 200 people,
you want to get it right.
You can have a bad day and there might only be 2% available. But that means you've got 4 people at least that are going to go under really quick. And they will purposely use something to find those 4. Okay. And there's loads of different ways you can find those people. Getting everyone in the audience to do an activity that points out to one of us, they'll go under in seconds.
Yeah.
That person will take half an hour. That person will go under in seconds. And then we go, brilliant. If you're currently in this physical state, and let's say your hands are melded together and you can't take them apart, and no matter what you do or think, you can't take them apart. Myself, I'm up on stage going, got you already. Come here. And then they come up on stage. I can get away with almost anything.
Yeah. Because I've never been called up, and I know it's a little bit like when I was at work, I'm always seen as a troublemaker. And I know that the resistance is probably there, you know, obvious for anyone to see, sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's probably why me and you get on.
True.
Because we both have that mischievous voice in our head.
Yeah.
That just goes, yeah, but what if?
Yeah.
All the time. And that works for me. And honestly, mate, that is part of the reason we get on. Because the amount of networking things when people are being far too serious and sensible, and you know that if me and you are sat next to each other, we're like, what can we do here? But yeah, if you've been sat in a hypnotist show and you've broken any of the rules, you won't be going up.
No, I know. So if we take it, you know, the art of deception, so we've just spoken about the magical-ish side of things and stuff, but I think, you know, it highlights and really represents how we see what we can see in life. So I'll give you an example. I see some people over on Facebook or, you know, that have been customers of mine in the past who literally see signs in everything and anything where I really do not see a sign, but they're so looking for it that it presents itself all the time. It's a bit like, you know, you buy a brand new car and you've never noticed that car anywhere before, and all of a sudden, you know, there's hundreds of thousands of them around you.
Yep. So right, it's your own brain's bias. So your brain will not notice things until it has a reason or a want to do so. So, and we could talk about, you can even go talking about medical facts. You can start talking about history. You can start talking about things that align with each other. Until you have a reason to notice them, you won't notice. You think about it. Just looking at your screen right now, you've got your computer in front of you. You're concentrating on me, but within your field of vision, everything outside that laptop screen. And this is a really nice example, actually. So I'm sat in my office down the end of my garden. I've got my camera just above the laptop. I've got the microphone just next to it as well. And I've got my screen where I'm concentrating on you. Now, if I then figure out my whole field of vision, the laptop screen only takes up about 5% of my whole field. Okay?
Yeah.
Your picture within it then takes up about 20% of the screen. But I'm concentrating on you.
That's all you see.
Yes. So everything else around me, right, I'm going to look up now. There is currently 5 birds on the bird feeder, 1 in the bird bath that I didn't notice before. There's, a load of birds sat on the fence as well. All of these things I'm interested in and I love watching, but I hadn't noticed them at all. So what else can be happening within your field of vision that you're not taking notice of because you can't handle all that info at that time?
One thing that's interesting as well that you just pointed out, you said about history. And obviously being French, when I went to school in France, I was taught history. And then I came over here and I did a degree in international relations and politics. And the history I was taught there, completely different, not the same story at all. And the Falklands War, everybody was going on about that. Was that there was a war in the 80s? Where? I'm not aware of it. Because obviously the colonies in France were North African.
Yeah.
The Commonwealth is not something I'm taught about. I know nothing about Indian culture or anything, but I know about North Africa.
Have you ever seen the Beefeaters talking at London Tower?
On TV, not, there right. Sort of thing.
Awesome. Brilliant characters. Great showman. Brilliant at getting a story across. But something that hit me from one of them, and I can't remember his name, and my wife will kill me for not remembering his name. He's brilliant at what he does. But he says, history is only written by the winners. So if the perspective you are being taught it from were not part of a team that were involved, why would they even teach it in the first place? So everyone around the world views history in a slightly different way.
Definitely, yeah. And I suppose we go back to perception, isn't it? Depending on the teacher you have, their political beliefs or their beliefs in general, you're going to have a completely different perspective on it.
And this is, so back in my days of doing psychometrics and psychology for corporates, okay, back in those days, we used to argue about where people's behavior traits come from in the workplace. Now, there's a good argument that it came from your parents. There's a good argument that it came from a teacher that you believed in. You had a high level of belief within. Yes. There is also good evidence that it could come from your first manager in your first job. I think it's a mix of all of those, and you start picking the bits that you like from those people, and that's the way you start to behave in a workplace because you think that's right.
Exactly that. And I think this is it, isn't it? If you look at life in general, we're blank canvas. The first people that start putting colour on the canvas are the parents. So when you end up about 18 years old, you've got all sorts of colours that have come from family, friends, school teachers, school in general, whatever. And then you get to an age where you're like, right, hang on a minute. I don't actually like that bit, or that bit, or that bit. And I'm going to change it and make my opinion different. Because it's quite interesting. My dad died back in February. So I've had to go back to France a lot more because my mum is still having chemo and stuff. Well, she really did for the rest of the days, really. So I've spent more time there. And one of the things that was really interesting, because it didn't come from me, it came from her. And she kept on saying, we don't live the same way. We don't do this the same way. And it made me think, because I thought, yeah, it's true. We do not do the same things at all. And yet I was brought up by them. So I should have the same sort of habits in that sense.
Yep. And you think about it. How many times do you see a kid do something and somebody will say, that's from your dad, that is.
Yeah.
Or that's from your mum. or oh, you get that from Uncle Dave, or something like that. And the fact is, we got no idea where they picked it up from. And me and my wife, we used to laugh. So my daughter is now 12 and she's in senior school, and I'm not allowed to talk about her too much because she'll kick my backside. But up until
Not
the age
boyfriends either, I expect.
don't. Boyfriends do not exist ever. No. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, I can remember up until the age of about 4, any attitude she had, any funny quirks that she did, anything she did, me and my wife would look at each other and go, it's definitely our fault, because no one else is really involved. That's our fault. As soon as she started going to school and picking up other things, we'd go, not our fault now. We're okay.
And that's interesting. As someone I was talking to some time ago, and he said his brother had rang him saying, look what your niece has done. And she broke the TV or whatever, scratched the screen. And he said, how do I get the blame? Well, because, you know, the way you are. And it was actually quite interesting. It's probably not his fault at all, but there's obviously similar traits between the two of them.
Yeah, but isn't that beautiful? Look at what your niece has done. You mean your daughter?
Yeah. How does that work?
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. But yeah. And do you know what? People are weird. People are wonderful. They are amazing, and they are so aggravating at the same time.
So how would you say, if we only see what we want to see to a degree, how can we be more objective?
It's tough. It's really tough. Now, right, this is going to be something that you will have some people won't like that I bring this up, okay? I'm not religious at all in any way, shape or form. I honestly wish that human beings just treated each other with love and respect. That's all I really care about. However, I know that I should not walk up to someone and say your God is a lie.
Yeah.
Okay, because if I did that, that's confrontational. It's going to start an argument straight away, no matter what religion they believe.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't do it because that belief in them is so strong. It's literally like I'm slapping them in the face 100 times in front of all the people they care about.
Yeah.
I'm a nice person. I just wouldn't do it. Okay. How can you become more open-minded about something as strong as that? I doubt that people can. However, if you're talking about something that's a little less strength, and let's say, I was going to say a football team, but then I've got some friends that take that more seriously.
Yeah, than religion, yes.
Yeah. So let's say your insurance company.
Yeah.
You've been a loyal company. You've been loyal to your insurance company for 5 years. You're about to renew, and one of your closest buddies, someone you really trust, just goes, "Oh, well, we're in a really similar situation, but I pay 30% less for mine, and I get better cover as well. Why don't you have a look?"
Then you're open because there's a benefit to you.
There's benefits. I'm not as strongly motivated to stay connected with a company. And my buddy has just proved to me that that company is not looking after me as well, and they don't care about my loyalty as much. So if I move to this one and get better benefits and save some money, now I'm listening. But there is no way I could have the same conversation with certain people about a football club.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If I couldn't turn, by the way, I don't follow football. I don't like any, yeah, I've been to watch some games mostly because I was out with friends of mine. That's it. But it's the same thing. I couldn't turn around to some of my friends and go, but hold on, that team over there, their ticket prices are less. You get better seats. You're in a more comfortable position, and they've got better players, and they'll look after you more. Why don't you why don't you follow that team? And they would just look at me like I was absolutely nuts.
And I think this is where we go back to the deception side of things, is because of the belief that we hold, isn't it?
Good point. I was getting far too religious about football clubs. Yeah, the deception things, if you hold something so strong, if you hold something so tight, like there is no way Paul Newton could ever put his hand in my pocket and steal something.
Actually, I was going to ask about that. Because people must feel it, surely.
Similar to what I just said about looking at a video call.
Yeah.
Okay. If I come up to you and you and I trust each other, if I've got enough banter that you trust me enough, and I say to you, that's a lovely jacket you've got on, what make is it? Now, the first thing you're probably going to do is hold open that jacket slightly to show me the name or to check the name for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you go, oh, it's Gucci. Now, if you've done that, there is actually, even though I'm a big bloke and you're a gorgeous female, there wouldn't be much of an issue of me holding the jacket open and looking at the name and going, oh, it's that one. And I love the lining. Now, you're now concentrating on where that name is. You're probably concentrating on the open pocket on the left-hand side because you're thinking his hand's a bit close to that. But I'm looking at that label, I'm looking where my hand is, and your eyes are following me as well. But actually, with my left hand, I'm going into your right hand outer pocket because we're both focused on what I'm doing here.
So that's like an item in a garment, but sometimes people take off like watches and rings and whatever and put them in boxes that are like under padlock and stuff.
Yep, exactly the same principle. I literally just need to get you to the point that you're comfortable with me being there and being within your sphere of influence, okay? And I need you to be looking a different direction. And the watch is a perfect example. So far, I've got 100% hit rate on stealing watches.
Fair enough.
Because I was taught by a guy who's brilliant at it.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught me exactly the same thing. It doesn't actually matter how long it takes you to get the watch off of someone's wrist. The only thing that matters is that they don't look at you taking the watch off of their wrist.
So we're talking about the person now, but what about the rest of the people on the table? How do you manage if someone's a bit like Scatterhead or whatever to focus on the same things as everybody else?
Depends on what you want out of the situation. Okay. So if you are trying to steal it, then you don't want any of them to notice, and you want them looking at the label as well. We'll keep using the label as an example because then everyone goes, right, so we focus there. So if you want everyone to do that, you need to draw them into the story as well. So it's then a case of, oh, I love that make and that lining's great. What do you think of this lining? Right. You've now got 3 or 4 people looking at the same position, okay? However, if you are doing a pickpocket job for entertainment purposes, then you can make a bit of a thing of stealing everything you can.
Yeah.
So using the label again, we can say, oh, that label, oh, I love the lining. That color of lining really suits this. And then with my left hand, I go for something in their right pocket. I pull it out and I put it above their head behind them to show everyone else what I've just done.
Mm-hmm.
That's the entertainer side, because then those people around are now in on it with you, and 99% of the time they will just go, wow, watch this, because you know I'm going to do something else. And that wallet, I might even pass to one of this person's friends, and the person I'm doing this on still won't notice this. This is amazing. I can be going, lining's amazing, the label's brilliant. Look at their friend and go, hold that. And come back, and I've literally just said to somebody, hold this wallet, and they hold it for me, and I carry on. And then you just literally go, oh, that is amazing. Can I look at the other side, check the stitching on that as well? And you move to the other side, open the jacket of the other way, they're now concentrating the other way, and you already know there's a pocket next to this label. You start working on that one.
Yeah.
It's all about misdirection.
Yeah. Which, again, going back to life and relationships in general, is exactly the same. I mean, I was talking to someone yesterday who said how, you know, the man of her life, or whatever she used to call him, was actually like the most abusive relationship she's ever been in, but she couldn't see it at the time. Couldn't see it at all.
This is it. Relationships, when you are inside that tight circle of two.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And I tell you what, some of the scams I've seen through dating type apps.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Ridiculous. Yeah. I've now got people in my phone book who hunt catfishers.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they're amazing. These guys, guys and girls, are amazing, and they purposely go for the people who are trying to scam nice people. But yeah, some of the scams I've seen on that, because, right, okay, in a relationship, we're talking about love. We're talking about one of the strongest emotions you can possibly have. And the reality is that most of us have a want or a need to be loved.
Yes.
Now, if we are going to pick a one person that's going to be our one and only, we want it to be strong. Okay.
Yep.
Now, think about what I've already said about football clubs and what I've said about religion.
Yep.
You are pinning everything on the one. Right? Now, if I write a profile on a dating site that is going to nail a lot of people's emotions, and if I start making it being the best possible, if I then can interact with that person and ask them questions about what they want out of life, what they want in the future, how they see themselves being, and if I then start drawing a lovely picture that I can provide all of that,
yeah,
this person who has already said we're searching for love, is now getting everything on a silver platter. Okay. And then, in about a month's time, even though you haven't really met in real life, I'm just in a bit of trouble. It's all right. I'll be back on the internet soon. But I'm in a dodgy area right now. I've just got to find about £500 to sort out stuff so I can get out of this country. Now, all of a sudden, that person who mentally is already in a relationship with this person goes, only £500? Is that all you need to be safe? Yeah, it is. I've got it somewhere else, but I can't access it right now. I'll be back in about a week, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then
you're talking about
the missing them and not being able to talk to them and all the rest of it.
This is it. Now, this is where the art of deception becomes quite a nasty tool. Yeah. We did a whole podcast on my show about catfishing, and spoke with one of the ladies that I know who goes after catfishes. And seriously, some of the stuff is so basic, but if you're in the middle of that little world...
And it's targeting the right person, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Each of these catfishers will have a target list. They will have a tick box list of everything they want to see in a profile. That means this person is perfect for their catfish.
Yeah.
And like I just said, right, if I'm only using £500 as an example, and most people in the English-speaking world can get their hands on £500 somehow, okay? If £500 is the thing that saves the love of my life, I will find it.
Yeah.
Yeah? If that catfisher is doing that to 20 people, they've just got 10 grand by using deception.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes from being my favorite art form and the most magical thing possible in the world to there's some absolute scumbuckets using this for horrible reasons.
It's a bit like NLP to a degree, isn't it? It has got a bad rep because of people using it to kind of like manipulate you to buy certain things that you don't want to buy. So, but anyway, that's pretty much all we've got time for, believe it or not. Is there
a
pearl of wisdom you'd like to share with us before we go?
Pearl of wisdom. Yes. Yes, there is. This is a saying that I think is just amazing. I've heard it in so many different places in history. The person that I first recall hearing it from was Ronald Reagan, okay? And this was back when the Cold War was a big thing. And he turned around to people and he said, look, trust, but verify. 3 words that can mean so much. You can trust in someone, okay? And the good people, when you go to verify them, the good people will help you do so. Yeah. However, the bad people will hate it. They'll try and put you under more pressure. They'll try and get you to stop verifying that they're real at all. And that's when you know you're dealing with a scammer. Trust but verify. It could save so many people an absolute fortune.
And I think even, on a small basis, if you look at social media and people sharing stuff that's fake news, exactly the same principle, isn't it?
Yeah. I've got people on my Facebook account, and it's always the same few people that will just share something because it's a very emotive subject, and I go, here we go again. I look at it, I go do a fact check on it, and then when I come back with a comment of, oh, I've just checked and this one isn't real because of blah, 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 blah. Okay? The same type of people will often come back with, oh, yeah, but it could be. I've just proved it's not. The best thing you could do right now is take it down. But it could be true.
That's it. Right, Paul, thank you so much. It's been really interesting, as always.
Thank you for asking me to do this. And it's lovely to chat to you. It's been far too long.
Exactly. And for everybody else, thanks for listening. And if you enjoyed the show, then please subscribe, leave us a review, but more importantly, come back to the next episode. Thank you.